Hi everyone, it's Laura and you're here for low intensity strength training. Welcome. Today you're going to need just water and one weight on hand and we'll be doing quite a bit of the work today on the ground. So have a mat nearby or somewhere comfortable where you can be on the ground. All right, you got your weight, got mat. Hopefully you have your water as well. Let's get started. We're going to start on hands and knees today. Get the spine warmed up with some cat-cow. I'm going to jump forward here and start my timer. So as you go into the cow, this is extension of the spine. As you go into the cat, you're doing flexion of the spine. Getting that whole length of the spine, trying to get the whole thing to move here. A lot of times we'll just move the parts that move well, and then especially that mid upper back tends to not move at all. So can you tune into what's going in the mid and upper back and get more motion there? Good. We're going to transition now to tucking your toes if they're not, and shifting your hips back towards your heels. Again, if you're just joining us, grab your water, a mat, and one mid-range hand weight for you. We're rocking back this time. Push your hands back and then rock back to a low squat. If you can't get your heels all the way down, that's fine. But keep rocking and then going back into the squat position. So hips to heels, push back into that low squat and forward again. Walk back with the hands, go into that low squat. Or if the heels stay up, that's more like a deep knee bend here. And that's fine if you stay here. It's fine if you keep your hands on the ground. Good. All right. We're going to now stand up. We're going to do our plank walkouts. So you're walking the hands out to a plank. We do got some planks today, so let's enjoy. And then walk the hands back and stand up. Walking forward to your plank. Try and keep the elbows slightly bent here. And then walk your hands back. If you have blood pressure issues, or many people have high blood pressure, just try and keep your head above your heart so we don't have a sudden drop in pressure. All right, this time we're going to walk out, hold for a moment, bring the knees down, and then let the hips go to the floor. If this doesn't feel good for your low back, then you don't have to go this far. Lift the knees again, walk the hands back. Just a couple more times. Hands walk to the plank, knees down, let the hips drop if it's comfortable. Keep that slight bend in the elbows. Lift the hips, lift the knees, walk back. Stand. All right, one more time. Walk out into a plank. Lower the knees, lower the hips, nice and slow. So you're not going into anything that doesn't feel good. Then lift the hips back up, lift the knees, walk back out. All right, we're going to do a little bit more hip range of motion here. Cross that left foot in front of the right and lift up and around, back behind, knees back behind my other one, and then bring it forward to the knee before bringing it back, bringing it all the way around. If you need a wall or a chair for balance, feel free to do that. Nice. And the knee goes back, up and around, cross. On this last one, if you want to challenge your balance more, you can reach up overhead or out to the side, bringing your center of gravity up a little bit higher. This is optional. And bring it up and around again. Warming up those hips. Bring the arms down, cross the right in front of the left now, and bring it up, out, reaching back with that knee, and then bring the knee forward to be next to the other one. Back and around, up and across. Let's do our second pass here. Nice, going through that full hip range of motion. Add the arms if it's available to you. Working that balance as well as the hip range of motion always. All right, hopefully you're feeling warm. Grab some water if you need it. And we're gonna go into our work portion today. Instead of doing blocks today, we have 7 exercises and they really target the glutes and the leg, the upper legs. So I hope you enjoy this, but let's get going. Our first one is sideline leg raises. We're gonna go for 45 seconds each side and stack your hip one on top of the other and then lift the leg. Little Jane Fonda-esque this morning. Notice here, I'm getting this work from my hip, which means I'm not bending at my waist here. So if you feel your waist really pushing into the ground, it's likely your spine is moving. So just move it high enough so that the hip is doing the work here. You're doing great. This is for 45 seconds. Fun stuff. Hopefully you're feeling it in the outer leg or that side of the hip here. Just 5 seconds left. You're doing great. And switch sides. All right, 45 seconds starts now. Nice job. And you can put your head down if you'd like. So really isolating the hip here. We're going to be working all the way around the hip today. Nice. All right. You're over halfway there. Less than 20 seconds left. Nice and engaged in the side of the hip. Trying not to move the spine too much. Again, if you feel that waist pressing down or if you lose your hip stack, we know that the spine is getting involved. And that's time. All right, let's move on to the next exercise, which is a Superman. We're going to go onto our stomach. And you can have the arms back behind you or out in front of you, depending on what feels comfortable. If the shoulders don't feel good, down here would be a better option. But you're going to reach forward and then slowly use the muscles of the back and lift. Good. We're going for slow repetitions here. I recommend if once you get the feeling for the move, instead of looking at the camera or looking at the screen like I am, just turn your head and tuck your chin a little bit so we don't get the neck really extended. You're doing great. If you prefer, you could do just the legs. If you're fatiguing, then the upper body. Just the legs, then the upper body. You could also do opposite arm, opposite leg. We're almost there. Doing great. And time. All right, we're gonna go back to our backs again. We're gonna do an inner thigh leg lift. So you're gonna start on your back, feet flat on the floor, and then you're gonna straighten out your left leg. And then turn the toe out so it's like that foot is duck-footed. And then you're gonna lift the leg, the long leg on the floor. Now by getting duck-footed like this, we work the inner thigh a little bit more. You're doing great. If you're not feeling any work in the inner thigh, you could also squeeze the leg toward the midline and then lift from there. That preloads the inner thigh with the squeeze, and then you also have to lift with it. So that's an option. If you find that you're feeling this in your low back, just engage the core a little bit. See if that helps you. You can also put something under your head and shoulders. Let's switch sides. I'm straightening out my right leg, turning that right leg out to the side, And then I'm gonna lift. I'm engaging my core so that this work comes from the inner thigh. Again, if you need the extra work here, bring that leg toward the midline and then lift from there. Doing great. About 10 seconds left on this side. Working these little places around the hips. All right, we're gonna come back to we're gonna use a plank position this time. And we're gonna do a row. So I have a couple options for you here. You can row from a knee hand position like this. You can row with your knees a little bit farther back like a push-up, like so. Or you can come up into a full plank and row from here. I'm gonna do it from the knees today, and you can find your version. All right, let's start on the right arm and go. 45 seconds aside. Long back of the neck. Core is engaged. Think about tucking your pelvis under, tuck your tailbone. Really engage the core. And if it's too much for the arm, like it's getting for me right now, I'm just gonna do the row here. Coming back to a box position instead of that knee position. Almost there. And time. Switch hands. If this is too much for your wrist, and go. If this is too much for your wrist, you can come up into a low lunge position like this and row from here. And if that's too much for your knees, you can come into a lunging position and row from here. So again, find that variation that works for you. Keeping you mostly on the floor today. We're almost there. About 15 seconds left. You're doing great. Keep rowing on that second side. If you feel a lot of work happening in the neck, bring the knees in. I don't want this to become about just holding that plank. I want you to have work in the row. All right, come out of it. And we're going to stay in knee hand position here. We're going to do some glute kickbacks. So we're going to start with the right leg. I'm going to push my heel up toward the ceiling and then bring the knee back in. Push the heel up toward the ceiling, bring it back in. Engaging the glute as I do so. So my knee's at about 90 degrees. It's not about how high the leg gets. If your knee only goes back a little bit, that's okay. You're still engaging the glutes. I just don't want to see a big arch in your low back like in that cat-cow we did earlier. Doing great. We're just doing 30 seconds on this one, so let's switch sides. Because we're gonna get a little extra on these. And notice here, I'm not going super fast, I'm going nice and controlled. So I'm really engaging my glute the whole time as I lift. A lot of times we'll use speed as a way to use less muscular activation. I don't want that for you. All right, we're gonna go back to the first side, same start position, but this time we're gonna do that kind of fire hydrant move here. Lifting out to the side as we go. Lift and lower, lift and lower. Notice here, I'm not going necessarily for height. I could go like this, but then my whole torso is moving. So I really want to target the outside of my hip and thigh. Great job. Switch sides. Might be feeling a little burn at this point. Let's take our mind away from our glutes for a moment. And are your elbows slightly bent, or are they locked out? Not everyone locks their elbows out, but a lot of us do. So give a slight bend, let the upper body do some work here too. Doing great. Really engage the hips here. Almost there. and time. All right, shake out a little bit. We're gonna do a push-up variation now. And we're not gonna focus on the pushing up part. We're gonna get back up, but we're gonna let that happen however it happens. So I'm gonna have you focus on the lowering portion. We're stronger. Our muscles can actually do more work in the lowering portion. So we're gonna start on the knees. I'm gonna start on the knees. If you wanna go up, you can. Or you can be at a countertop and you're gonna go really slow down. And then lift your shoulders, lift your hips, all right? So we're not trying to maintain that plank form as we go down, or we are trying to maintain the plank form as we go down, but as we come back up, we can let it break. So tuck the tailbone, engage the core here, lower down, nice and controlled. You're probably gonna feel the backs of your arms here as you do this, especially to keep the arms tight to the body. So if you want to have strong muscles in the back of the arm here, go nice and slow. Let the arms rub alongside the torso here. We're gonna do one more one last one in here. Tuck the tailbone, lower down nice and slow. All right. We're gonna roll over to our back and we're gonna do a walking hip bridge. So we're gonna come up into a hip bridge to start. And then you can press your arms into the ground for stability if you'd like. And then lift one foot, lower it back down, lift the other foot, lower it back down. Nice. Now the goal with this exercise is not to have the hips up as high as possible. It's to maintain the height of the hips, even as you pick one foot up. If you only pick one foot up an inch off the floor, that's okay. Another way you can do this is to shift weight, where you shift to one side and do like 90% in one leg and 10% in the other. About 20 seconds left. So find that variation that works for you. And also notice, does your pelvis, if you pretend like you have headlights on your pelvis here, they should be pointing straight up to the ceiling. So you don't want your pelvis to wobble around to the sides and swing around. All right, that's time. You made it through all 7 exercises. We made it all the way around the glutes and thighs. I hope they're feeling all right because we're gonna go through this one more time. All right, grab some water if you need it. I'm gonna grab a quick drink. All right, and if you're ready, join me back on the mat. And we're going to lay on our side for our sideline leg raises. All right, you've seen it all now. We're gonna lift and lower. If as we go through this 45 seconds, you start feeling like you're really using a lot of speed to throw your leg up, slow it down. I want you to target the outer portion of your hip and thigh. And if you're using a lot of speed, we're not getting that. I want you to work on the slow twitch muscle fibers here. Have that muscular endurance. You're doing great. Don't worry about the height here. Almost there. And switch sides. All right, hips stacked on top, one on top of the other, and lift. You can lay your head down if you'd like. Lift and lower. Sometimes I'll even push my pelvis with my hand to make sure that it doesn't tilt. I'll put my hand right on my hip, and if I feel it pushing to my hand, I remind myself, hey, I'm trying to just work that hip joint, not the spine. Lift, lower. Just 10 seconds left here. Doing great, nice and controlled. Even if the height doesn't get as high, it's okay. And that's time. All right, we're gonna roll over to the front of the abdomen here and do our Superman. All right, let's get started right now. Lift and lower, long back of the neck. So you're trying to elevate. Think about not just elevating the legs off the ground, the bottom of the leg, but try and lift your thigh off the ground. Try and lift your rib cage off the ground a little bit. You can always go opposite arm, opposite leg. If that's still too much, you could do one leg, one arm, one arm. Just keep working. Legs are heavy, so the legs always tend to be a little bit harder. You're doing great. Almost there. Last one, and time. Great job. So we're gonna go to our back and do our inner thigh leg lift. You can always put something under your head and shoulders here if you'd like. We're gonna start with the right leg, lengthen it out here, and then lift. I turned my foot so I was a little bit duck-footed, and I can squeeze toward the midline if I want that extra oomph for the inner thigh here. Keep working. All the way around the hips here we're going today. You can lower make your range of motion a little smaller if you'd like. You can actually set your leg down. I haven't been setting my leg down, but you can set your leg down and lift again. Almost there. Just a few more seconds. Really make sure that core is engaged. Good. All right. Place the right foot flat on the floor, knee bent. Straighten the left leg. Turn the toe out. Get a little duck-footed. And then lift. Add it toward the midline. You're looking for a little bit more work for that inner thigh. Still engaging the core. I want to make sure we're not arching the low back as we do this hip work. Almost there. About 15 seconds left. You've got this. All right, 5. And time. All right, grab your weight again for the plank row. So find whichever plank variation works for you. Try and keep that elbow slightly bent as you work, then row up. Notice if your elbow locks out on the one side, or if your shoulders are getting really, really tight from holding you up. If that's the case, come back to the box position here so that we can really work on the row itself. I'm pulling that weight up in my hand about to my waist here. Keep it up. Getting close. Keep breathing. You want to focus on your breath. Exhale up, inhale down. Nice. Just one more. And switch sides. All right, make sure that I'm going to start in my plank again, see how long it takes for this side to fatigue, and go. Keep breathing. The low back doesn't feel good, if the neck doesn't feel good. If you notice that your arm keeps locking out, it's really hard on the ligaments. It stretches them out. They don't unstretch. So put a little less weight there. Coming to that box position. I need it for my neck. I can feel my neck starting to want to do work just because I was getting fatigued. Less than 10 seconds here. You're so close. And time. All right, you can put your weight aside, and we're gonna go to the glute kickback. I'm gonna start on my left side this time, making sure I have that slight bend to my arm. And we're gonna go left, down. Again, we're really targeting the glute here. This one's just for 30 seconds. And we're gonna, and this time instead of switching sides, just to give you that little extra burn here on the second time around, we're gonna go straight into the fire hydrants on the left side, or whichever side you started with. You're doing great. Let's make sure that the low back isn't doing the work here. And fire hydrant here, out to the side. Height doesn't matter, and how high this leg gets. If your wrists are getting tired, you can come down to your elbows, or you can stay up here. You're doing wonderful. Almost there on the side. And time. Let's go straight into the second leg. We lift and lower. Nice. Remember to keep breathing, core engaged, elbows slightly bent. I always like to keep my shoulders away from the ears so I don't engage my neck in a way that's going to make it really sore. Trying to work glutes, not trying to over engage the neck. Almost there. And fire hydrants out to the side. You're doing great. Keep working, keep breathing. Come down to your elbows if you need to. It becomes, holding it this long becomes an arm workout too. Doing great, almost there, a few more seconds. Stay focused, time. All right, shake out. We're gonna work on our lowering portion of our push-ups. All right, let's do it. Hands down, find your happy plank place. Could be on a countertop as well. And then slowly lower yourself down. And then come up however you can before finding that plank again. Slow, 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 slow. How slow can you go? A lot of slow strength today. Targeted, slow strength. You're doing great. About halfway there. Nice. You've got this. Really get the core engaged. If you're not sure if your core is engaged, you can do this little checklist. Tuck the tailbone under and bring your rib cage down toward the top of the pelvis to really engage the core. Can you maintain that engagement all the way down? Tuck the pelvis, engage the top two of your six pack, right? One on each side. We got time for one more. Tuck, engage, and lower. Nice. All right, our last exercise is our walking glute bridge. We're in the glute bridge position, our hip bridge. So we're gonna lift the hips off the ground. It involves the glutes, but you're also gonna work the hamstrings and start on walking. Lift one leg, then the other. Again, you can do those weight shifts if you'd like. But engage the core. Try not to let your pelvis spin around as you lift one leg. Notice if your pelvis likes to drop as you lift one side. I like to put my hands on top of my pelvis as a reminder. Keep my hip headlights pointed straight up. If your feet are too close together to start with, it's likely that your pelvis will tip and tilt. Almost there. Finish strong. Make sure we're not working into the low back here. You can just do glute bridges here too if it becomes too much. All right, and that is it. Nice work. You made it through all 7 exercises twice. So it's time for a little bit of a cool down and a stretch. Grab your water first though. And then we're going to go into our knee hand rock. So we're rocking back and coming forward. And for this time on the cool down, I'm going to have you untuck your toes if you can, depending on what shoes or no shoes you're wearing. And shoes that can be tucked. And then reach forward and then come back up. Reach back with the hips again. Reach forward with the hands. And then come back up. Rock the hips back to the heels if it's available. If it's not, you don't have to go all the way back. You can put a pillow back here too, in the back of the thigh and the calves. Not everyone can go into a full deep knee flexion, and that's okay. And then let's come back up again. All right, we're gonna do a little cat-cow here. Checking in with the spine again, just like we did at the beginning. Nice job. And then we're going to reach one arm through, stretch out the back side a little bit. Then reach the other arm through. Nice. One more time each side. I'm reaching with my left arm through my right leg and my right arm. And then last time. Good. And let's come up into a V-sit. If a V-sit isn't available when your hips are on the ground, you can sit on a rolled up towel, stack yourself up until you can sit with a pretty neutral spine and it doesn't feel like you're slouched and rounded. And then you can lean over towards your left foot. And then come back to center, lean over toward your right foot. Stretching out the side of the body. When we're doing a lot of our exercises where we asked our body not to rotate, now reach forward. Asking like if we're on the leg lifts, we're doing one side at a time, or the walking hip bridges, we're asking our body to not allow us to rotate, which uses a lot of the obliques and the sides of the core. So we want to stretch those out, give them a little love. Nice. We did a lot of hip work here, so let's draw. I'm drawing my left leg across, giving it a big hug. If your leg's farther out because you're tightening your hip, you're still getting a stretch here. You don't have to bring it all the way in. So you're just drawing it in until you feel the stretch. Again, you can do this stretch with the hips elevated. You don't have to do it seated on the floor. Let's switch sides. Remember to breathe as you're stretching. We really targeted these areas around the hips and thighs today. So if you're feeling tight there, if you notice that it's a little tired, hopefully you didn't feel like you overdid it and you were able to stop if you needed to. But if you did, you can come back to these stretches here. We had the V-sit, got a little inner thigh, a little side, the knee draw in, and finally, we're gonna go to a little here, an oldie but a goodie. Reaching forward, this will stretch out wherever you're tight along the back side. For some people, it's the hamstrings, other people, it's the low back. Some people even feel it in their calves. There's no right or wrong answer here. And just stretching, giving some love to the back side of the body. Remember to take some nice deep breaths. All right. Thank you so much for joining me for low intensity strength training today. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.